All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started with our monthly tower coverage webinar. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to type in the message box there. If I see them as we're going, I'll answer them as we go, or I'll definitely answer them by the end of our webinar. Today we're going to primarily be covering like some of the newer features, but we'll touch base on all the basics of towercoverage.com as well. I'll get started by what is towercoverage.com. It is an RF propagation website that allows you to map out your network using the settings of your coverages and your antennas. So that way you can get a visual representation of your network. There's also frequency coordination tools that allow you to determine whether you are self-interfering, if you're overlapping two of the same frequency groups. It makes it to where you can run your business day to day, especially with the website integration by utilizing our EUS data system, as well as the map integration that allows you to automatically update your coverage area on your website by simply keeping your towercoverage.com account up to date. So it's a very powerful tool that allows you to help manage your business, manage your day to day, and also track and record people that are looking for service, people that you couldn't provide service to, and prevent you from rolling out a truck to somebody that wants service that you already know you can't get service to. And then you can in the future go back and decide where the optimal place to put up access points to get service to those people that asked for service that you couldn't give service to. So it's a very powerful tool all around. Excuse me. So we'll start here on our homepage. There's a lot of information just on here alone. You can see a lot of the information. We have our public maps up here as well. So if you do not have to put any kind of coverage on the public map, this is a if you want to type thing. So what the public map does is if you have a multi-map in your account and it's set to be public, then it is displayed here on our public map. And then you are allowed up to 3 public maps on your account. So basically you can put 3 maps, split your network up into 3 areas, and you'll get one of these pins for each one of the 3 public maps, and the pin is placed in the geographic center of the map. So if you make 3 public maps to break your network up, it allows you to actually have 3 pins on the map which pinpoint the areas of your coverage. Or you can just do one big one and have one pin in the middle of it all. Totally up to you. If you do have a public map on the public tower coverage public map, and a customer is looking for service and they don't know that you exist, but they happen to stumble across tower coverage, we have our looking for internet service right down here. This is essentially the same thing as the website integration for your account, except the difference is when a customer fills out the looking for service form, we will determine all of the accounts on tower coverage that have coverage within 50 miles of the customer's location. And if any of your coverages are within 50 miles of this potential customer, we're going to send you their information and let you know it. And even if they fall in your coverage, we'll let you know what the 6 best possible links to that customer are on your network. Keep in mind that if you receive one of these, that any of your competitors, if they are within range, they also receive their information as well. So it's kind of like got to be on the lookout for the find a provider submissions because we send them to all of our customers that can potentially service the requesting customers. So you want to keep that in mind. Uh, once you actually have your tower coverage account created, and which is very simple, you can if you don't already have one, you can go to the register, agree to the terms and conditions, and then hit accept and fill out the simple form. You have an option of a 14-day and a 2-day trial. The 14-day does ask for billing information because at the end of the 14 days, then the billing does start. But you will not be charged nothing until for the first 14 days, you won't be charged a thing, and you can cancel at any time by simply logging in and going to manage subscription and canceling it. Or you can do the 2-day trial and it doesn't ask you for anything, no billing information whatsoever, and you can try it out for 2 days without worrying about a thing. Once you have created an account, verified your email, then you just simply come here, put your email address in that you used to register with, and log in. Once you're in your account, you want to start out by making sure everything is accurate within your account. Your company profile will be, for the most part, pre-filled by everything that you filled out on the registration form. And then this address, the address that you provide, that if you when you update your company profile, it'll make it easier when you're working with your account. Anytime you go to create a new site or process a new link or anything like that, if your address is something that we can get a geocode for, or a latitude longitude, the maps will automatically open on your business area, instead of by default they open up in the St. Louis area, which is where we are. So by default they open up where we're at. But if we can geocode your business address, we added that in so that way it opens up closer to you, so that way you can find your towers and find your stuff easier. You want to make sure that you adjust your land cover for your area as well. This is a key part of tower coverage. You can add multiple land covers in here just by adding a new one, and then they will appear here. This allows you to select different land cover types for different areas. So if you have, if your network spans all the way across the country, one area might have denser and taller evergreen trees, one area might have those huge redwood trees, and you can adjust accordingly each individual land cover type, so that way you can apply them specifically to a link or a coverage, depending on where that coverage or link is located. Keep in mind all of the heights are in meters and the density is a 0 to 10,000 value. So by default, they're at the 500, 450, 460 range, which is generally a pretty good setting for like the Midwest type area, where the trees aren't huge. It's not excessive rainfall, so they're not extremely dense, but they are a little dense. Some people, a lot of Wi-Fi and internet providers, they usually tend to run somewhere in the 700 to 1200 range, because they're being a little more conservative with their coverages. But that's totally up to you. You can do some link path analysis and test and see if your path analysis is giving you a hotter signal than what you're actually seeing out in the field. Then you want to come in and increase your densities. If you're getting a weaker signal from tower coverage than what you're seeing in the field, you come in here and you lower your densities down a little bit. That way you get that higher accuracy. But once you get it honed in and you get it optimized for your area, then you'll start to see those really accurate coverage maps, and you'll be able to make a good judgment call whenever a submission, an EUS submission, comes in. Um, it allows you to be able to see those, and you get a pretty accurate signal reading within a couple dB, so you know whether to roll that truck out and spend the $100 to drive out there with your install truck or not. Once you have all your land cover settings done, you can add overlays into tower coverage. There is a Google Map restriction of 3 meg, so they have to be KML or KMZ format and less than 3 meg in size. So you can break them up and put them in as different overlays. But this allows you to put a visual picture of locations, or anything like that. Keep in mind that overlays cannot be used for creating sites or coverages, and they will not be, when an EUS submission comes in, they will not be analyzed as to whether a customer is in your overlay. So you can't upload a coverage with the overlay management. It's simply just an added tool for you to apply an overlay on top of your coverages. We have many antenna patterns already in tower coverage, but if you do not see the one that you are using, or you do not want to use the generic antenna patterns that we have, you're more than welcome to contact your manufacturer of the antenna that you are using. Request a radio mobile compatible .ant file from them. And once you've done so, it's very simple. You come in here, you add a new one, give it a name. The beam width filter is what is the advertised beam width of that sector, so that way it'll set that to the default whenever you select that antenna in your coverage creation. Add your manufacturer name and upload your file, and that's literally it. You will see those antennas. There's a category in the coverage creation for uploaded antennas, and it'll appear in there. We do have our API section. This is where you will receive. You can have, excuse me. You can go to the API template generator if you do not want to use the EOS iframe. Keep in mind you do have to have a Google Map key to be able to utilize the custom form, and each time this form is filled out, it will consume one API call from your account. So if you want a custom form, and you don't even have to use this template generator. We have many APIs, and you can simply go to wiki.towercoverage.com. There's the API getting started, and there's a lot of information, including code examples on the generic forms and stuff like that, on creating a custom website integration form for tower coverage. We have our pre-qualification API, which allows you to get an instant response as to whether they fall in your coverage or not. Then we have the EUS submission API, which actually allows you to enter data into your tower coverage account via the API. All kinds of different tools, but if you're going to use our template generator, as I said, you'll need a Google Map key, and you will need to enable geocoding, JavaScript, and places on your key. So you make sure you enable those three libraries for this template to work and respond correctly. That way you get the slide away map that shows up, the movable pin, so that way they can move the pin to their exact location. All that stuff of this template. Make sure you enable those three libraries so that way the template will work. Simply put your map key in here and hit show code. And then once you do that, you copy and paste this into a page on your website. And you can adjust it however you want, as long as you don't like change the JavaScript where it breaks the actual scripts. You can adjust this visually however you wish, so you can make it completely customized to the design of your website. You're also in the API section. You have your API push results, as well as, I got a broken image, but the settings for your EUS billing API. If you put in you select which one of the billing systems or CRMs you're using. Enter the credentials. Some of them require username and password, some don't. But what this does is after an EUS submission is received, then we will process that EUS submission, add it to your EUS data, and then we will, whatever information is in this push URL, we're going to take that customer data as well, and we're going to push it to your billing system. All the different billing systems react a little bit differently. Some of them create a ticket, some of them create an account, some of them send you an email notice. It totally depending on which system you're using, or you can create your own custom system and just put a push URL in here, and then we will push it to whatever system you wish, depending on what your programmers want to do. Your EUS settings, if you're not going to use the template generator, this is where you're going to want to come. So it gives you several options. Your EUS landing, so whether or not to show them the map afterwards or not. So you can display just a message. You can display the thanks message, which the thanks message is this message right here. It does have to be a small, simple message, no return characters, so it can't be multiple paragraphs. It just has to be one paragraph, short little message that you want to give to your customer after they fill out your form. Also, you can just put a URL in there if you wish, and after they fill out the form, it'll redirect them to a different page on your website, whichever one you want to do. The movable pin text, I'll show you that when we actually show you the actual EOS form, but this text can be changed, so if you wanted to have it in a different language or whatever, you can do that. Same thing for the EOS iframe text that's over here on the right. Anything that you want to change the name of it to, it doesn't change what the value actually represents, but it changes what the customer sees. So if you want to have a different title on the top of the form, or if you want the form to be in a completely different language, you can simply just type all of the values that are on the left in a different language on the right, and it'll display it appropriately for you. You can also set your default settings, so that way the country and the state or province are automatically default selected for your area. Just one little step that the customer doesn't have to do if you're using the iframe. And then lastly, here at the bottom, you see the Google Analytics that you can input your Google Analytics ID, so that way all of the usage of your form are being tracked with your Google Analytics. In your user settings, there are several different types of users. You have three different types of users: the admin, the input, and the read-only users. Please take care, if you're creating admin users, you can create 2 additional admin users, but keep in mind that they do have access to all of your billing, your API stuff, deleting stuff out of your account, so on and so forth. So they have all the rights that you have. The only difference is you can delete your other admins as the master account. You can delete other admins, but they can't delete you. That's the only difference between a master account and any other admin. So take care whenever you're doing that. Your read only and your input users. The input users can create coverages, but they cannot delete them. And a read only is simply what it says. It can only view data. It cannot view your account settings. It cannot see your APIs. It cannot see any of the detailed account stuff, and it can't delete or create anything. You can also set your start page. So like if you want your sales team to use a particular multi-map when they're pre-qualifying customers, or somebody's taking those cold calls and they're calling people up. Where are you at? Where do you need internet at? A specific map that you want them to use to check that if the service can be provided. You can simply come here and you can set it to multi-map and select which multi-map that you wish them to use, and then by default, when they open towercoverage.com, and as soon as they log in, it's going to automatically open them up to that multi-map instead of them having to go to the stats page and redirect and everything. So you can set the specific page that they open up on. Excuse me. Once you have your account all ready and good to go, the next thing you're going to do is you need to have your tower sites in here. There's several different ways of adding tower sites. You can bulk update or bulk upload, excuse me, by using the import site. There's a download template right here. The template's very simple to fill out. It's much the same as just adding a site the normal way. The difference is there's not options for conversion on the upload. So for example, on the upload, all of the heights have to be in meters. Where if you're here importing adding a site manually, you can put it in feet, and you can also use the DMS latitude and longitude. But on the upload template, you have to put the value in meters, and it has to be at least a 0 or higher. And the latitude and longitude have to be in decimal degrees. They cannot be in DMS. So just keep that in mind. And your map pin styles on the upload are the same as they are here. 1 for red, blue is 2, orange is 3, and green is 4. Very simple. But you'll add your tower site name, whatever your site name is, something that you can track very simply. Your description and group, you do not have to put anything in here, but they are completely optional. But you can use these if you put a URL in here. Whenever you get your multi-map, if you have your map pins, it makes it to where you can click on the pin, and if you put a URL into, like, the FCC's ASR data for that tower. If you put a link to that, it'll be a clickable link inside the information of the tower in your multi-map. So totally up to you what you want to use these for. Just kind of helpful little areas for you to track some details about the tower itself. But once you're ready to start creating your tower, you can do it a few different ways. You can enter your latitude and longitude. You can set your DMS lat and long, or you can put an address up here in our search bar to locate it, or you can just move the map around and you can find your location. And just by simply clicking, you can set your location and it'll automatically update the lat and long over here on the right for you. Select which color pin that you want to do and hit create site. And you can do that, as I said before, you can do that by simply adding them in this manner. You can do it with the bulk site upload, or you can go to the API and you can add them via the APIs if you wish as well. Once you have all your sites in, then what you're going to want to do is either create all your coverages, or if a lot of your coverages are all the identical same, you can create a new radio system first. By creating a radio system, it allows you to eliminate a lot of the stuff that you have to do whenever you're creating a coverage. So by creating a radio system, there's a lot of these values. All these values are the same thing you see on the coverage creation. It just makes it to where you're essentially making a cookie cutter to apply to multiple coverages. So it just simplifies the process for you. But if you do not want to create a radio system, you want to do them all manually, you can just go to coverage and hit new, or you can go to your coverage list and there's also a new coverage button up here. Both take you to the same place, whichever one you want to do. Once you get here, you're simply going to select one of your tower sites. By default, once you select your site, hit tab or click out of it, it's going to, whatever you set the tower height to, it's going to automatically set your antenna height to that. You do not have to leave it there. You can set it to whatever you want. You can also enter it in feet, just like creating a site. All of our meter and feet blocks, most of them have a conversion where you can enter it in uh, whichever system you wish, and it'll convert it. Down here in your system settings, the RX threshold, keep in mind we are requesting RSSI. So if this is a LTE and all your CPEs are displayed in RSRP, you will need to do a little bit of a calculation to see what your minimum RSSI signal would be for a good link. If it is a LTE coverage, you have the option of setting an LTE here. So that way, whenever you create your coverages and you do a path analysis from a single coverage, it will display what the RSRP to that location is. We have not added that to multi-map path analysis yet, but we do plan on doing so. But the single coverage, you can get that RSRP value. The required reliability is a fudge factor setting, so it adds or subtracts statistical loss. The higher this bar is, the more loss per distance is going to be added to your coverage. So like if you notice that a lot of your coverages are really big and they're unrealistically big, your AP isn't as strong as expected to be, you can come in here and you can turn your required reliability up, and it'll add a little bit of statistical loss for your area. That way it brings that closer down to reality. Use land cover. We do recommend for WISP utilization that you leave the land cover on. Otherwise, your heat maps are going to be drastically incorrect, because it essentially removes all of the trees and buildings from the calculation. So you get unrealistic coverage maps if you turn the land cover off. Use land cover type. As you can see, here's all when we created the land cover in the account settings, all of those ones that we created are available as the land cover type. So if this is one side of my network, I can select that one, or I can select a different one for a different area of my network, whichever one you want to do. Use 2rays. Leaving this on for LTE settings is generally a good idea. Just normal 5 gig, 2.4 stuff like that, you generally want to leave that off. This takes into account multipath reflection, so that if you have those types of situations, you want to turn it on. Create viewshed does the opposite of turning the land cover off. It uses the height setting of whichever land cover type you have selected, and then it ignores the density setting, and it turns all of the land cover up to a maximum density of 10,000. So generally you want to leave that off unless you're trying to create a coverage that is 100% pure line of sight installs only. Then you would use the create viewshed option. By default, the data images are turned off. A lot of people don't ever use the data images. If you want to be able to view all of the specific land cover and where it's at, then you would turn this on. Also, the U.S. Census population data, there's an image as an overlay that can be viewed from the individual coverages. So if you want to be able to see those pictures, then you'll turn it on. Otherwise, you just leave it off, and then that your coverages will process faster because it's not trying to create those extra images. But if you do need those images, by all means, turn them on, and you just have to wait 10-15 seconds longer for coverage process to occur, just because it has 2 extra images to create. The average client height, this is whatever the average install height is for the area. So if it's a subdivision of single-story ranch houses, then you want to apply that accordingly. Or if it's a subdivision of 3-story huge houses in a big built-up neighborhood, then you would set that a little bit higher, the 8-10 meters on the bigger houses. Just depends on where this coverage or access point is being installed as to what you would want to put in here. Your client antenna gain, we recommend that you put the largest install that or the largest antenna that you're going to be using for installs. So that way you see a full picture of everybody that you can get. But then you know that if the signal shows that it's a neg 35 because you put in a 24 dB panel as your client antenna gain, you know that you don't have to install them with that 24 dB panel. You can go and use something like a 16 dB, 13, 16 dB antenna or something like that. Your RX and TX line loss, they apply equally the same on both ends. This is the loss that occurs, excuse me, by using such things as LMR or larger pigtails, stuff like that. If you are using LMR, the data sheet for the cable that you're using always has a loss per foot calculation that allows you to calculate actually how much loss is going to occur prior to the signal actually being broadcast. So you want to make sure if you are using stuff like that that you calculate that and put that in here so that way you're getting accurate coverages. Your coverage name, you want to give it something that identifies what it is. So if this is the Tower A 5 gigahertz north sector, name it accordingly. If you are going to be using, there is a block down here, the coverage array setting. If you're going to create an array of coverages, for example, 320-degree sectors around a tower, and you're going to space them evenly. You don't need to put the direction in the coverage name because the coverage array will actually help you name them as it's creating the array of coverages. So for example, if if you select, here, let's select our 120 degree sector. So I selected our radio system, our MikroTik Net Metal with QRT 120 sector. So basically what this does is it took all the values from our radio system and it applied them accordingly to what we input into our radio system. It even selected our antenna. Our EUS beam width filter, the advertised beam width is 120 degrees, but we're going to go ahead and set this to 180 just to account for the side lobes of the antenna. This does not affect propagation whatsoever. All this does is restricts path analysis and EUS submissions from happening to the back face or the back feed of a sector. So if you leave this at the default 120 and a customer falls at 65 degrees to the right of the center line of this sector, even if they can get a neg 50 signal because they're in the side lobe of that antenna, the path analysis and EUS submission will not return that customer as a good link or even a possible link because they're outside what you told the EUS beam width filter to be. So once again, this does not affect the propagation. This only makes it to where you are not getting your EUS submissions won't return if a customer's 300 yards away from a tower and they submit requests for service and if you have all of your beam width filters set to 360, well, that customer, they could have a decent signal off the back face of one of your sectors, but logically you're not going to install them on the west facing sector if they're on the east side of the tower. So what the EUS beam width filter does, it eliminates all the sectors on the tower that the customer that you would not install them on. So that way, if there's a tower that's 3 miles away and they have a neg 65, you want to know that's a viable option as well. You don't need to see that hey, they have a good signal to the back face of all 3 of my sectors on the tower. So that's what it does. It just eliminates the unrealistic installs. Your antenna azimuth, this is the true north azimuth reading, so it's not magnetic north, it is true north. But you can, if you don't know exactly which direction a sector is facing, you can just type in what you think it might be, and there's a little needle over here that'll actually spin and tell you what the direction is as you type. It'll turn the correct direction and kind of point to where it's facing. So that way it kind of helps you out figuring out where it is if you don't know what the actual direction it's facing. The antenna tilt, this is a mechanical tilt value. So if you select like this KP sector, the electrical down tilt that this antenna has is already calculated in the antenna file. So you don't want to put that in there. This is the mechanical tilt. So if you have it pointing downward an extra 2 degrees, so you'll put a -2 in here to let it know that it's 2 degrees of down tilt. If you faced it up, you would put a +2 to signify a 2-degree up tilt. You select your frequency, your channel width. This does not affect propagation. This is for the RSRP calculation. Uh, excuse me. The LTE or the 365 frequency in combination with your channel width will help determine using your RX threshold that you set. It will help determine what the RSRP calculation value is. So when you do that path analysis, you get to actually see what the RSRP value is rather than the RSSI. Your exact center frequency, this is used for the frequency coordination. You can leave it blank if you don't want to track that stuff. But if you would like to be able to see if you have two coverages overlapping that are on the same channel, you put your exact center frequencies in, and that in your multi-coverage you'll be able to see those. So we'll go ahead and set one in here. We'll give it a name. Excuse me. We're going to tell it to plot the coverage array. We're going to evenly space them around the tower. We're going to go ahead and set our first sector antenna azimuth to 0. So our first testing sector, it will be named testing 0 degree because that's the first antenna or AP that's going to be plotted by the coverage array, and it's going to evenly space them. So it'll start going clockwise around the tower, and it will plot 3 coverages with an advertised beam width of 120 degrees all the way around the tower. And we're going to go ahead and turn our max distance up a little bit. And the strong and weak signal colors, you can change these in an individual coverage, but keep in mind when they go into a multi-map, they will be set back to the default value of light green for strong signal and a dark green for the weak signal. So the coverage does green and red, the multi-map does green and dark green. So that way it shows up, everybody's coverages show up the same colors on the public map. That way it don't look like a kaleidoscope. It just kind of helps with excuse me, helps with the visual ability to see stuff. And then your rendering quality. If you're wanting to render stuff quickly and just trying to test stuff out, you can do low resolution for faster processing. Once you've got it all honed in and everything, then you can go back and process them really high to get the cleaner, crisper maps. As you can see, it created our 3 coverages. So we've got our testing 0 degree, 120, and 240 degree that it created. While those are processing, we'll go ahead and cover some other stuff here. Once you have all your coverages created, if you have fiber or cable coverages on your network, it's really easy to do. As you can see, it opened up in our location using our company profile. It opened up right where we're at. So basically, if we wanted to create a fiber, if we had fiber running all the way down this road, you simply just start clicking on your map. And that drops pins. You can drop up to 25 pins or 70 kilometers per coverage. And it'll notify you when you've reached that. If you need to go further, you can just start where you left off and create another fiber coverage to go. The reason for the restriction, if we do a single coverage greater than 70 kilometers, then the curve of the earth starts to come into play. So the calculation gets a little bit off if you try to do a straight line over that great of a distance. So we just break it up so that way you know exactly which segment of your fiber or your cable run the customer falls into. Once you have the line drawn, you give it a name. You specify the distance that you wish to install off of this line. So if you're willing to install anybody within 100 meters of it, you put that in there. Strand count is just for your tracking purposes, as well as the color. Same thing with the individual coverage. You can change the color of an individual fiber coverage, but once it goes into a multi-map, it'll go to default colors. Notes is for your record tracking purposes, and as well as the mode selection and type selection, just something for you to track. Once you hit update the fiber route, it's going to utilize the line that you created as well as the distance allowed. It creates them very, very quickly. You open them back up, and as you can see, it took that line and it split 100 meters off of either side of the line, and it created a polygon that specifies the entire area in which you are willing to install customers off of that fiber route. Very simple to do. To create your fiber routes, and then you can also put them in your multi-maps, and then your EUS submissions, they will not only give you the 6 best possible links, they will also tell you if they fall within one of your fiber links or one of your fiber polygons. Once you have all your fiber in, you can create links. You can utilize these to draw out your backbone, the backbone of your network, or you can, if you just want to put in all of your repeater links or however you wish to use your links, or if you just want to test location for a proposal that you're trying to get with a potential customer, you can come in and you can create a link. It's very simple to do. When you create a link, you just fill out the right hand side. It's much similar to a coverage. The only major difference between a link and a coverage is that a coverage utilizes an antenna pattern. A link does not. A link does not need an antenna pattern because it assumes that you're going to properly align it. So it doesn't need an antenna pattern to determine whether or not it is aimed correctly, because it's leaving that up to you to aim the antennas properly. Once you have created your link, you can see what the outcome of the potential link is. You can also use a little slider up here, and you can see where specific land cover is. So like this little dark green patch that we got here, we can go over top of it and identify what that dark green area is, which it is like this clump of trees here, is being identified as evergreen, where most of the other stuff is being identified as like deciduous trees. As you slide it, you can also see the little box reading up here that lets you know what the distance is, how far the center of the beam is from the terrain. Not from the clutter, but from the terrain itself. If there's something that's kind of close and you're wondering if it's going to clear a hill, you can actually see how many meters or feet above the ground it is going to clear by. So it gives you an idea of whether your link is going to work or not. There's a lot of different statistics in here as well. You get your latitude and longitude of both sides, what the height, the ground elevation at both sides is, the antenna height that you specified, as well as the direction it is pointing, along with the tilt that you need to apply to each side of the link. So in this case, our bulk update test side needs a 1.45 degree down tilt, and our other side that is just labeled new point is a 1.29 degree up tilt to be able to effectively aim these antennas out. And as you can see, there's all the settings over here, all the same as creating a coverage, so we won't go into them in detail. But then we also have the ability to download the Google Earth flyby. This allows you to download this link and open it in Google Earth, and if 3D imagery is available in your area, you can actually fly that link path and see if the link path is going literally through a tree or not. So that one little tool that's very handy. Also, we have the print link. What this does is it allows you to print out a visual representation of it. And as you can see, we uploaded a logo into this account. In our account settings, we uploaded our logo, so that way when we print the link, it allows us to actually display the link with our logo on the top of it. Handy little tool. Once you have all your links in, then you can actually create a link group out of them. Creating a link group makes it to where you can visually see the link or your link group on your multi-map once you create them. And then once you've created all of your coverages, fiber coverage, links, and everything, you'll want to go in, you'll create your multi-map. To create a multi-map is even simpler. You select the coverages that you want to add. We can check all and hit add selected, and it moves them all over into the right hand panel. If you change your mind, simply click the red X and it kicks them back out the other direction. It's very simple. You can search if you want to narrow it down. If you're just wanting to make a multi-map that's the site is on House Springs, you can do that. Let's refresh and So if we just want to do House Springs, we can type House Springs. So now it's all of our House Springs. So now we just made we set our default zoom level, give it just a map name. You can place pins on your sites if you want to actually see your tower pins. You can do that. Keep in mind, whenever you do the website integration, you don't have to worry about your customers seeing your tower locations. The pins do not carry through to the website integration, so you don't have to worry about that. It's simply for the visual representation inside your tower coverage account. The EUS data collection form, this makes the map whether it's a data collection map or a visual representation map. If you have this on, whenever you embed the multi-map iframe onto your website, the iframe will display our EUS data form. If you have it off, it's going to just give them an image or the actual map of your coverage map. So there won't be any data collection capability. So if you're wanting to do both, you will need to you can create two maps that are absolutely identical, name one of them data collection and one viewable map. And you can take both iframe codes and put them both on your website. You can have the form and the map if you wish. Totally up to you. Whether or not to display the fiber routes to your customers or not. So that even if you leave this off, when they do an EUS submission, you will still get the results of whether they are in the fiber or not. But they will not be able to see if they are. So it's totally up to you whether they see it or not. Once you've done that and you've decided what you want to do with this multi-map, you simply can hit your create. I closed it instead of creating it. That's right, we got a map already. Oop, wrong map. That's a itty bitty testing map. There we go. Here's our bigger map. All right, so as you can see, this multi-map, it has our House Spring Tower in it. It also has some fiber coverages that we created. We have our display pins is set to on, so the pins are available. You can come in here and you can click the map. You see the description and the group, the default height of the tower, as well as the name of the tower. There's a lot of features available in the multi-map. We just like a single coverage, we have the multi-coverage path analysis. So the difference between a single coverage and a multi-coverage path analysis is the multi-coverage will test all of the coverages within this map, and it'll give you the 6 best possible ones. So if we just drop a pin somewhere, and you don't have to click to drop a pin, you can put an address up here in the top and hit your search, and it'll move the pin and drop it for you. Once you've dropped a pin or found a customer location, you can either hit the path analysis down here at the bottom. If you want to do a custom height, you can. So if you're on the phone with the customer, if you want to utilize the default height, if you do a path analysis and just do the coverage setting height, it'll use whatever the client antenna height that you set the coverages to. Now, if the customer tells you that they have a 50-foot tower in their backyard, then you'll want to come in here and actually specify that they have a 50-foot tower in their backyard, which it converts it over and sets it to the 15 meters. So that allows you to be able to do a link path analysis, and you get the 6 best possible links that this customer can get. In this situation, there is only one, just because there's very few coverages in there, but you also are told that the fiber coverage it falls within the fiber route known as testing fiber. You get what the RSSI reading is, as well as a determination of whether it's a good link, marginal link, or link not possible. Along with the ability to do path analysis, we also have the frequency coordination. I'm not sure if these coverages have frequency on or not. There's one. So our 365 frequency range, obviously we set it to the center frequency to a weird frequency, but as you can see, we set this one I probably just hit buttons, so it's 2555. So it shows you Each center frequency is displayed in a different color based upon what you put in for the exact center frequency. So in this case, if we had another one that was pointing this direction as well, you would be able to see if two of the same color overlapped. And then you can also determine what that is set to just by simply clicking on the polygon, and it'll give you an example of it as well. Along with your frequency coordination, we also have the link groups, our test link group that we put in. You can turn that on, and you can see the test link group if you go down in on these, you can actually click on the line, and you can actually see the statistics of each individual link as well. So you don't actually have to go to your link to see it. Once you have them created and in a link group, pretty much everything about your account can be viewed and analyzed from the multi-map. And then in the top left corner here, you will see there's several settings here. The update settings allows you to add or subtract coverages from your multi-map. You can simply do that by clicking to add them to the right, or the same thing as in the map creation. Click the little red X to take them back out. You can add or subtract the fiber or the RF coverages as you wish, and hit your update multi-map. Another little option that you have here, if this map didn't quite look right and you wanted to bulk update it, by clicking the bulk update included coverages, it will just take all these coverages that are on the right hand side, and it'll redirect you over to our coverage bulk update. What this does is allows you to make small changes to many coverages all at the same time. So if you just wanted to only change the channel width of all of the coverages that are in here, you just set this to change, select your new channel width, and you hit your update coverage at the bottom. And the only value of all three of these coverages that are in this list, the only value that's going to be changed is the channel width value. But back to our multi-map. And also up here in the top left corner, you can see the test iframe option that is up here. As you can see, that this map has the data collection turned on, so it gives us the EUS form, and this is exactly what your customers would see if you integrated the iframe onto your website. And then if you were to turn the data collection off and hit your test iframe, as you can see, now it's a visual map. Excuse me. So the nice thing about this visual map is if we decided that we wanted the customers when on our website, we could actually drop a pin here, the same pin as if we were doing a path analysis, but instead of doing a path analysis, you click the set center down over here. It's going to set that, and then you can also adjust the zoom level. So if you would like it to be zoomed out further, so we already set our map center pin, and now we set our zoom level by moving the slider down here, and we hit our test iframe. As you can see, now it's zoomed out further, and the center of the map is moved down to where the map center was set to. So you can adjust those. So if you don't like where the map is positioned when you integrate onto your website, it's very simple to do, very easy to do. Just drop that pin, hit the set center, adjust your zoom level accordingly, and it'll automatically update your website as well. Same goes for if you add and subtract coverages. Those coverages on your website will automatically update as well. And then lastly, we're going to go ahead and cover our newest feature, which is our device feature. Our devices are very simple to add. Down here we have our view device list. There's different kinds of devices. So we have a manhole, access point, huts, notes, switch, or box. It's just a different pin type for each different one, or you can view all devices. Currently there are none in here, but we will rectify that. You simply right click on the map instead of left clicking. So now you can notice that by right clicking on the map, we get this little blue pin with a menu box, and we can simply select which one we want. Once you select what type of device that you want, you come in and you can give it a name. So we can tell it just a new device. The Google Doc link allows you to actually insert a link to a Google Doc that's associated with this device. So you can You can record all of the data that you ever would want to have about this device in a spreadsheet on your Google Drive, and just simply take that share link, put it into the Tower Coverage Google Doc link, and it allows you to be able to, whenever you view these on your multi-map, it will become a clickable link that will automatically open the spreadsheet associated with that device. You can do that, or you can just leave it empty as well. Your Google device group, you can assign them different groups for easy sorting in the device list. So we can just call it group 1 if we want. You can specify whether this device is a IPv4 device or IPv6, whichever one you wish. If you do specify a public accessible device, or excuse me, IP address, it makes it to where you can in your um, device list, you can actually check if the device is up or down by pinging the device. So if it is able to be pinged by towercoverage.com, you can determine right inside your tower coverage account if this device is reachable. So for example, we will go ahead and put one in here. I believe that's correct. Find out in a second. Okay, so we have our new devices added. So now, if we close this out, you can see it automatically updates it by going to View Device and All Devices. And here's our device already set for us. We can go to Edit Device and make all of the changes that whenever you created the device, you can also change those with the Edit Device. You can change your docs, you can change the IP address, whatever you wish to do. You can even change which type of device it is. So if we change this over to a Note device, and we go back to our multi-map, and we view our devices now, we'll see that it's no longer a manhole device, now it's a Notes device. And then finally, you can go to your devices list. And as you can see, you have your device. Clicking on this takes you the same as well. Just clicking on it takes you to the edit device. You can view the notes. If you had put any notes in the notes field, those notes display here. And then you also have access to the Google Docs link right down here as well. And then you can check the status of the device by simply clicking on it. Apparently I put the wrong IP in there, but as you can see, the one that I put in there is not reachable, so it turned it red. If it is reachable, it will turn the button green. So let's see if we can, one sec here. Oops. There we go. Let's try it. There we go. That's correct. Just had it in the wrong spot. So now, because this is a valid IPv6 address, we're able to click the check status and ping the device. And with that, we will start to wrap up the webinar. Keep in mind, if you do have any questions, feel free to shoot us an email, give us a call, whichever one. It's very easy to get a hold of us. You can go to your account, you can contact us. You can email us at support@towercoverage.com with any questions that you can think of that weren't answered here in the webinar. There's also the previous webinar videos. There's the last one covered more of the EUS data, how to manage that and stuff. But if you have any questions that we didn't answer, that you wanted more detail on anything anything specific, you can go to the contact us. You can email us directly from your towercoverage.com account. You can call us. We're here 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. Monday through Friday, so feel free to give us a call if you have any questions. Or there is also like I said, there's many different ways to find information. We have the Tower Coverage Wiki that can be accessed via your account menu. And then there's also the active tutorial. Inside your account, if you turn your tutorial on, the contents of the tutorial will change depending on the page you're on. This one here has the information on the coverage count, your API counts, your overall counts. So yeah, it highlights it, kind of gives you a little bit of information, and it does this for most of the pages within tower coverage. If you turn that tutorial on, it'll stay on until you turn it off. You can close it out here, but if you refresh or change pages, it'll come right back up. And it is movable, so you can move it up, move it, get it out of the way while you're doing stuff and leave it up. Totally up to you. Or as I said before, give us a call, shoot us an email. We're here to help you, and we're happy that you guys are using the site, and we want you to get the most out of it. So feel free to give us a call or send us an email if you have any questions, or if you just want some new feature. If there's something that you wished it would do, we have our request features button up here in the top right corner. There's a list of stuff that other people have requested with the option to upvote them. Our developers and our owners and stuff, they look at this list to determine what we're going to add. So basically, they look at this list and the times requested. If it's something that we can do or something we're able to do, they try to do those first because more people that want it, the better chance is going to get done. So go through the list. If there's something you want, take a vote on vote on it, upvote it. If you don't see what you want in the list there, it's very simple to add a request here. Just pick a category and type out what you want. Let us know. But I don't see any messages or anything. So with that, we will go ahead and end the webinar for this week or this month, and we will do it again next month. If you didn't get your questions answered, let us know or join us again next time. Thank you for attending.